I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thank you for joining me for this reality news check on August 2nd, 2011. Well, we know that, here's your headlines. Racist statements are alive and well and in Congress. Oh, yeah, the racists are really taking their hoods off. Also today, the Senate has voted on the debt ceiling, plus someone is looking out for women's health. We'll tell you about it. It's the Obama administration and what they've done. Then, Vladimir Putin calls the U.S. a parasite. Is he correct? Plus, Pfizer makes a ton of cash, but is the future clear for the world's biggest drug maker? And Twitter gets a boatload of cash, and finally, a mayor gets out of prison. Let's begin with your top story, the fact that the Senate has passed the debt ceiling bill and sent it to the president for his signature. Now, after the House voted yesterday, we should just tell you this. After the House voted, it did go on summer vacation, but left the Federal Aviation Administration in the lurch. Last week, it was forced to furlough 4,000 employees, as you know. The question now is, did the Senate pass that? Will the Senate pass the House FAA funding extension? Even so, the House bill does cut subsidies for flights at rural airports in Nevada and West Virginia. Meanwhile, racist terms are alive and well and being used in Congress. That's right, Congressman Doug Lamborn. What a guy. U.S. Representative and, of course, a Republican from Colorado, recently on the 630 KHOW Capils and Silverman radio show, where he felt very comfortable discussing President Obama, the president's economic policies, and the debt ceiling. And Lamborn was very comfortable saying this about the President of the United States of America, okay? Here's what he said. Well, the Republicans should have done this or they should have done that. They will hold the president responsible. He says, quote, now I don't even want to have to be associated with him. You don't. You can quit your job. He goes on to say, it's like touching a tar baby. Oh, yes, he did. And you get it. You're stuck and you're part of the problem now and you can't get away. I don't want that to happen to us. Doug, quit. You don't have to be associated with the president at all. Go home, take your racism with you back to your racist district. How about that, Doug? We don't need you. All right. Now, in a statement to the, and we should tell you that, of course, he's received some criticism for his tar baby remarks. On his website, he says that he regrets that he chose the phrase tar baby rather than the phrase quagmire. Oh, but Doug, you chose tar baby and you did it on purpose. To the Denver Post, Lamborn had this to say, quote, I absolutely intended no offense. And if this is at all on his radar screen, I am sure he will not take offense. And he'll be happy to accept my apology because he's a man of character. Notice the tactic of shifting the responsibility for the remark from Doug Lamborn and his racist comments to the president. Don't fall for it. We know who this man is. He's a racist, okay? The term tar baby, for those of you who may not know, that would be some of maybe the younger kids may not know. We know that the Doug Lamborns of the world, well, he knows, but in the event that he doesn't, it's because he's either very, very ignorant, extremely poorly educated, or he just doesn't give a darn. I'd say it's a combination of all three. The term tar baby has origins that stretch back to an 1881 Uncle Remus story. It was written by Joel Chandler Harris. Of course, it's very, very derogatory to African Americans, and you should know this. Here's who dear old Doug Lamborn is. In 2010, the National Journal ranked Doug Lamborn the most conservative member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Lamborn has voted to the right of 96% of his colleagues on economic issues, 93% on social issues, and 76% on foreign policy issues. Here's what Lamborn said about his conservative ranking, quote, I've been called a lot of things over the years while serving in public office, but to be called the most conservative member of Congress is a distinct honor. We know it is, Doug, amongst you and your racist colleagues, and there are a lot of them in Congress, and we're going to root them all out and call them all out. Okay? Like it or not, Doug, either get educated, get informed, or if you don't like being associated with the president, how about this? Get out. And you know what? When you leave, we're going to take your salary and your free health insurance. We're going to take that away from you. But you wouldn't leave because you're on the public dole on welfare. You, my dear, are a welfare baby. Okay, let's go on. Let's go to some global information. Global criticism of the U.S. is in full swing after all the bickering over the past few weeks. We don't look good. All that bickering in the House of Representatives. Now, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin is accusing the United States of acting as a parasite on the world economy by accumulating massive debts that threaten the global financial system. Is it correct? Yeah, it is correct. That is actually correct. We came down to that, and we bickered so much and could not compromise and could not agree to such an extent that we look like idiots, basically. In health news, the Obama administration is ensuring that women have access to health care, thanks to the news, so don't worry about that. Thanks to the CARE Act passed by the president, we know they tried to get rid of that in the debt ceiling, but they weren't able to do it. The Obama administration says private health insurers must now provide birth control and other women's health tests for free. Among the benefits to be offered without cost sharing, that means no deductible, no copay, no coinsurance. That begins January 1, 2013. They are number 1, well woman visits. Number 2, screening for gestational diabetes. Number 3, human papillomavirus, HPV, DNA testing for women 30 years and older. Number 4, sexually transmitted infection counseling. Number 5, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, screening and counseling. Number 6, FDA-approved contraception methods and contraceptive counseling. Number 7, breastfeeding support, supplies, and counseling, including breast pumps. And finally, domestic violence screening and counseling. Now, we know some of the Republicans are going to be against this, with Tea Party. We know you're against it because you're against everything the president is for, but we want you to know, folks, that the president is acting on your behalf. And we know that Republicans, maybe somebody like Joe Walsh, a Republican from Illinois, owes $100,000 in child support. These are the kinds of people that are against this. They think they can go out and have babies and not pay child support and possibly put their kids on the public dole for us to pay for while they go gallivanting around town. No, you cannot do this. That's why we have to provide women's health care, because we have alleged deadbeat dads like Joe Walsh who don't want to pay child support. So that's why we have it. So just embrace it and be happy that the president is providing it. I'd like to know why, frankly and personally, why Joe Walsh is a deadbeat dad owing allegedly over $100,000 in child support is not in jail, because if he was a poor man, he'd be in jail. Now, the Obama administration says the requirement is affecting most insurance plans, this health care for women requirement. It is aimed at encouraging women who might otherwise not be able to afford them to get critical services which can preempt the onset of disease. Okay? In business news, over at Twitter, the company has reportedly raised $400 million in funding from DST Global. That's the investment fund led by Russian billionaire Yuri Milner. Of course, Twitter is trying to compete for advertising with other social networking sites like Facebook, which is the world's biggest social networking site, Twitter, the world's biggest microblogging site. Over at Pfizer, we're going to some business news now, staying on business news, going into the pharmaceutical sector. The world's biggest drug maker says second quarter profit beat analyst estimates as sales of pain medicines offset declining revenue from expired patents. Pfizer profit, excluding some items, was 60 cents a share. The main reason, the company's Lyrica pain pill and its Imbro arthritis medication, but there is trouble ahead for Pfizer. That coming in the form of generics. You should know that 9 of the world's 15 best-selling medicines, they are going to lose patent protection during the next 5 years. Chief among them is going to be Lipitor. That is Pfizer's. It had sales of $2.5 billion in the second quarter. Sales expected to decline by half next year after generics makers flood the U.S. market with cheaper copies. And that's not all. In addition to Lipitor, Pfizer is going to lose patent exclusivity to at least 18 drugs. That'll happen between 2010 and 2015. Those drugs were responsible for $25.6 billion in 2009 revenue, or 60% of the company's revenue. Then finally today from Detroit, former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick out of prison, a free man today, serving 14 months of a 5-year sentence. He is expected to board a flight to Dallas and rejoin his family. He will, of course, have to report to a parole officer there. We should tell you that he pleaded guilty in September 2008 to 2 felony counts of obstruction of justice, those stemming from his efforts to cover up an extramarital affair, but he currently faces a host of federal charges relating to his time as the mayor of Detroit, including racketeering, extortion, bribery, and filing false tax returns. Those are your stories. I'm Carol Angela Davis, coming to you via Skype. This is your Reality News Check for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2011. See you tomorrow.